This is the CHGO Cubs podcast. Today's show is presented by Factor. Use code CHGO Cubs 50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and free wellness shots for life with any subscription. Joined with me today is Cody. Cubs had a 17-hour rain delay, it felt like. Corey had to drive to the suburbs, so Cody is filling right in like the utility player he is. Cubs do win the series. They take 2 out of 3 from the Los Angeles Dodgers. They are probably motoring to the airport right now on their way to beautiful sunny San Diego just to see me, so I've been told. So we have a lot to talk about today. We have a lot of offense to talk about, pitching to talk about, a lot of interesting trends from the lineup as they head with momentum down to San Diego. Cody, how we doing? Thank you. Credit to you for showing up and doing this episode with me.
Yeah, well, originally I was supposed to just do the third segment, and then because of the rain delay, let's just put it out there, like, because this is obvious. Like, if anyone knows Corey, we know Corey's not here because he's wherever watching WrestleMania right now.
Family responsibilities right now.
Cody. Sure,
family responsibilities. He's a very family friend oriented person.
Big of you to say. Credit to you. All right,
big of me to say.
Anyway, happy to be here because I'm excited. It's cool. Like, this is the second Sunday now, 2 consecutive Sundays for you, Brendan, where they've won. That didn't happen last year.
I will say, with you coming on the show, them winning games, that is a trend. We have trends to talk about. We have trends with Morel's offense and power, but maybe the most important trend is you on the Sunday show, Cody.
Maybe. Listen, and all I did was just force myself on here. Credit to me for just being aggressive, I guess. I don't know.
There we go. But so the Cubs right now are 6-3. I feel good. This is almost the ideal outcome with a heavy loaded Dodger lineup. Shohei did hit the ball all over the field this weekend, but the Cubs still put up an enormous amount of runs. Jordan Wicks looked good on Saturday despite not getting the win. Shota Imanaga in 4 innings today looked good, even though the rain ruined all of our weekends and Sunday afternoons. I feel great. Michael Busch, the revenge series, if you want to call it that. Cody Bellinger keeps hitting home runs. Dansby looks good at the plate. Morel looks like Sammy Sosa Jr. out there. There's a lot of good going into this West Coast trip.
Yeah, the offense just continues to be good. Now, yesterday on Saturday, it wasn't great, but I think if anyone was not a believer in Yamamoto, I think you were probably, fed a little bit of reality on that. But Gavin Stone ain't no joke either. So for them to do what they did against Gavin Stone, and Bobby Miller was coming off a great start, and it was his birthday on Friday, and he's from the area. So to do well against 2 really solid pitchers, that's really encouraging. And Michael Busch had himself a weekend, and I just love the first 3 in our lineup, man. Like what Ian Happ, just like it's quite literally like the gif from Moneyball. Like, why do we like this guy? Because he gets on base. Like, it's all he does every single game this year. He's gotten on base, and it should have been a hit. His first at bat, in my opinion. I looked it up on Baseball Savant. He hit it like 107 miles per hour. Okay, like it should have been a hit. Whatever. He ends up hitting a double later in the game today. And then Seiya. I know the last 2 games, Seiya's kind of been a little but he still managed to get on base today. And he continues to have good at bats. And he's just been great. And Bellinger hits the homer. Morel, he looked bad yesterday, he looked bad yesterday, but a lot better today. Like, and then I think someone said this to me earlier today too. Like, the bottom of the lineup is just so much more like
balance.
You can balance. Thank you. Like Nico Hoerner's batting 7th, dude, and he hasn't even really got going. But I will say this weekend he started hitting the ball a lot harder. So, and he had a hit today too. So, like, you got him, Amaya or Gomes, and then whoever is in between those 2. Usually, it kind of sometimes it's Madrigal, sometimes it's someone else that I'm not thinking of.
Even Madrigal has looked good to start the year.
Big of you to say.
Big of us to say.
Big of
not
us.
just me, but big of us.
Big of us. It's you gotta savor it a little bit because that guys are gonna go through slumps and like the offense isn't always gonna be like this. But you couldn't have asked for a better time considering the injuries and the pitching staff and stuff, So I came into the year a lot more optimistic about the pitching than a lot of people and had a lot more questions about the offense. And so far to this point, it's kind of been the reverse, wherever like the offense is kind of proving me wrong. And now I sound stupid talking about pitching. I should just let you do it. But
the goal should be that we sound stupid about everything because they're just so good. So the stupider we sound, the better we, the better we feel and the happier we are.
That's a good spin to it, right?
There you go. So we have a lot to talk about. I have, by the way, Cody, I have 7 graphs loaded up. I'm breaking I have 7 graphs. I'm breaking the graph record today. Before we get into that though, people are asking, beer bet, are we doing the beer bet? We are doing the beer bet. You are pouring the beer right now.
I'm pouring the beer right now.
Look at that.
Yeah. I did. Someone in the chat said that they asked me if I could do better today because my one on Friday wasn't great. I don't know if this person follows me on Twitter or not, but when I did the beer bet on Friday, all I had ate at that point were tater tots, and I was very, very inebriated. So I feel a lot better in this moment, in this time, than I did on Friday when I did the 13-second beer bet. I was just happy that I didn't die afterwards, but I did have a massive headache at like 7:30 p.m.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
when you get past 30 years old, your capacity to do this dramatically goes down.
Right.
Dramatically goes down. What's your record?
32.
What's your record this year?
Think my best is like 10.84.
10.84. Okay. So we have a lot of 9.9s right now. Predictions in the chat. 10.6. 6.9. Nice. 9.6. Nice. Let's Godfather's here. 10.6. Susie's here. 11.2. Let's do the beer bet toast.
Okay.
I'm calling it the toast. I know Luke calls it the dedication, but it's really a toast.
It is.
So who we toasting to today?
I did it on Friday, but I got to give it to Michael Busch again. He had a great series, and like I've been bullish on him since they made the trade for him, man. Like I know the defense at first base has been kind of
he made that diving stop to win the first game.
He did, but he also didn't get a bounce that I thought he should have had yesterday. So it's been a little bit of a mixed bag, and I have a lot of opinions about the just overall team defense in general to start the year. But with the bat, though, I mean, he hit the homer on Friday, hit the 3-run double in the first inning today to get the Cubs off to a great start, to relieve some of that pressure coming into today, to give Shota some time or some runs. Some support, So I thought he's had great at bats, man. Like whether he's getting hits or whether he's just giving you good at bats in terms of working counts, getting on base. Like,
yeah,
there's still a lot to work on with him for sure, but you could not have expected this to come right away, right? Like this is really impressive, and like it really does make it seem even more like he just was blocked with the Dodgers, and he's taking control of the opportunity, and so far really gelling in the role, which is basically against right-handed pitching. So
all right, we have our producer Steven here. I am prompting Steven to begin the clock, so when the beer hits Cody's lips, start the clock. And then we'll find a way to report the time. I'm expecting under 10 seconds, Cody. So here we go.
Here we go.
And it has started. We have Cody chugging along here. I'm not like Luke Stuckmeyer doing these, but it looks like it's going pretty fast over here. This might be under 10 seconds. To me, it's under 10 seconds. I have a bad internal clock though, except when I'm playing middle infield. All right, what do we got here, Steven? What's our time?
All right, you said it. You thought it was under 10 seconds?
It seems that way.
I'm going to tell you it's extremely close to that. If you have to take the over the under, where are you going with this one, Cody?
Ooh.
I'm going to say under because I actually feel really good about this one.
It was good, but it was not the under.
Oh,
That's
this is
fair.
right at
10.06.
10.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
10.06. That was my best on the year, though.
I'm going to give it a 9.9, actually. That's my own clock. That's my internal clock. All right.
Yes,
Well, let's.
Keeber, it was a full beer. I promise you. I am a man of integrity. All
I
right.
did see Cody pour the entire beer before we got on here, so
Yeah.
it was a full beer. But let's get into it. So we have Michael Busch performing well. We have Christopher Morel performing well. I've been wanting this team for years now to contribute pre-arbitration, cost controllable bats. My main goal going into 2024 was that they find one of those bats, two of those bats. That way, come the trade deadline, they don't have to fill that void, go over the first tier or second tier, or God forbid from Ricketts, over the third tier, the luxury tax or the Ricketts tax, if you want to call it that. And so far, we're getting better than expected performances from even Christopher Morel, better than expected performances from Michael Busch. Busch's line right now almost looks identical to what he put up in AAA last season from a walk perspective and a strikeout perspective. From a walk perspective, 13% rate. From a strikeout perspective, a 21% rate. One home run, hitting for average, going gap to gap. To me, if Busch and Morel by August and September cement themselves as daily contributors in some capacity, whether it be third base or first base or moving around in the DH spot, that's ideal. That opens up flexibility beyond 2024, and it opens up flexibility at the trade deadline to improve elsewhere. If, for example, they need to improve the bullpen due to unforeseen injuries like Julian Merriweather going down today.
Yeah. I mean, you were talking about Busch and Morel. I mean, you just bring up their baseball savant pages right now. It's just like all red, right?
It's awesome.
It is. I should have mentioned Seiya too. Like I tweeted a screen grab of Seiya's like 2 days ago, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I could just look at this all day.
Yeah,
and it's like the same for Morel and for Busch. And listen, like I was optimistic that Morel could like really take a step forward offensively. It was just, to me, it was all about cutting down on the strikeouts, and finding him a position. And so far, he hasn't been striking out like at all. He struck out twice on Saturday against Yamamoto. Okay,
against those rare curveballs that he was spinning.
Right, but like, I think he had struck out once or twice before Saturday for the entire season, which is just unheard of for him.
Crazy. And
Busch, he's striking out a little bit more, but again, he's providing you, he's in the 80th percentile and walk percentage. His chase rate is in the 90th percentile on Baseball Savant. And his expected slugging is in the 90th percentile. Like, so he's
Delmetrics over here.
These are me doing podcasts with Brendan, so I'm trying to sound smart.
I can tell. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Credit to me. So like is it like, obviously the big question to me for Busch, at least, is it sustainable? Like, I hope so, and he just has to prove it. For Morel, I definitely feel maybe not so much the low strikeout rate, but like as far as the power and the becoming like this taking this next step in his development as a perhaps an all-star caliber player. Like, once he figures out how to play defense at third base or wherever they end up putting him down the road, because we've talked about it at ends about his defense and the possibilities, but at the end of the day, the reason you have to find a place for him is because his offense has been so good, and it has been better than last year. And I was always so optimistic about it because he played less games last year than the year before and had better numbers. So to me, it was just all about, okay, get him in the lineup every single day and then let him go. And, he's obviously worked on some of the holes in his game this offseason. And so far, it's taken off. So I can only hope that he continues to, do what he's doing. Like, again, I think the strikeouts will, at the rate that it's at right now, it's just unsustainable, right? But if it can be anywhere between, I don't know, 25 to 27%, even, like, that's fine.
Dude,
Like, he was striking
that's
out like 30% of his at bats last year. So if he just cuts it down a little bit,
Yeah. When he was called up in 2022, I was surprised how well he laid off pitches outside the zone. And there were times where Ross relied on him to be the daily leadoff guy. I
Yeah.
thought that was such an extreme change from what we heard about Morel going through the system that it just always in the back of my mind pointed to Morel as someone you can't project. So now in 2024, fast forward 2 years later, the power has increased substantially. And to your point, if he just strikes out 25 to 27%, he is one of the better hitters in the league. And as the season started now, approaching 40 plate appearances, the question then becomes, are his new trends actually sustainable? And these trends are crazy. We're talking about a chase rate of 9%. That is insane. To orient people's ideas about chase rate, the average is around 30%. So about 1 every 3 pitches outside the zone, hitters swing at. Morel's swinging at 1 pitch outside the zone for every 12 pitches. That is absurd. I'll show a few graphs here. We'll hit our ad break and some super chats. But if you look at his actual swing rate, what you're looking at here on the left is last season in 2023. If you see more red, if you see more yellow, it's like the Chicago radar with all the rain and snow lately. It's heavy. It's a lot of swings. On the far right in 2024, what you're noticing is there's more red in the middle. That means he's swinging at more pitches. And at the edges, it's basically all blue. He's not swinging at any pitches outside the zone, but also he's being more selectively aggressive against pitches inside the zone. And then, of course, the question then becomes, well, is he hitting those pitches? And the answer is absolutely yes. If you look at his overall whiff rate across the zone on the left, likewise, anything more green, yellow, or red is more whiffs. You see more whiffs in 2023 atop the zone. Now, if you look over to the right in 2024, it's all blue. He's not missing anything. And on top of that, he's hitting for extreme power. So typically, these are the traits of the best hitters in baseball. And so is this sustainable? Well, when you get around 50 or so plate appearances, the overarching thinking is that most of the noise is ruled out. About 50% of the noise is ruled out. That's just the statistical way of looking at this. Mm-hmm. Yes, in the sample, it is sustainable. I think going forward, Morel is one of those unpredictable guys. I do think if I had to bet, is this going to be a new adopted trait? To some degree, I do think it is. If Morel right now is at 9% chase rate, if he can get that around 25% long-term, oh my God, that's incredible. Likewise, if he can get his contact rate, let's say right now it's at 85% down to, 75% league average, he's a perennial all-star with that power. That really is what it is. And it's not to like overhype this, but these are such extreme changes that it does pinpoint something weird going on. And the way it doesn't ultimately sustain itself is if the league adjusts in a dramatic fashion. And that's always possible. But I don't think it's crazy to think that what we're seeing right now is something unpredictable in an extreme fashion that might yield way better offensive production than we ever thought.
Yeah. I mean, I actually understood the graphs.
Look at that. Look at that. They're good graphs. I'm telling you. I make good graphs.
I just,
sometimes
you talk about the power and like the whiff rate and all this, but it's like you can also like mix in with the rest of his game. Like his sprint speed is incredible. Like he's
a freak athlete.
He's a freak athlete. That's like he can do literally anything as with the kind of athlete that he is. Like he could do anything on a baseball field. At some point, obviously, we got to see the defense improve at third base, obviously, which today, no issues at third base, by the way. And he had a couple pop-ups in that rain. I felt like, sure, they probably should be routine, whatever. But it literally, for me, it's like, okay, see, make some good plays, get some confidence. And then there was a ground ball that was hit to him and he fielded it fine and he threw it to first. So it was like and everyone said that it's the routine plays that he's having trouble with. And that was about as routine as it gets. So, I mean, get this guy to figure out how to play third base regularly on top of what he's doing offensively, man. Like, yeah, we're talking about the cornerstone at third base potentially, or, you know, if Shaw ends up being that guy and you end up moving Morel, I don't know, back to DH or where, I don't know. Like, I don't want to talk about like 3-4 months down the road, but I'm just saying, like, you got to get to Shaw. And if he can give you a, you know, just a competent third base to go with that bat that he's showed this year, sky's kind of the limit, man. And yeah, like, he is a massive reason why this team is 6-3 and they're playing well, and they just won 2 of 3 against the most expensive team in the league.
Crazy. It's crazy. All right, let's get back into more offensive talk after this quick break here. 2 super chats, then 2 ads. First super chat, always from our good friend Fernando. Love Fernando. If Ace does not get hurt in game 1, Cubs are 7-2. Very true. Versus biggest opponents this season. Fact, Cubs look great. I agree, Fernando. Second super chat from Steven. We back, boys, hanging the banner in Wrigley right now. All right. I would love to hang some banners. Another super chat from
Gerard.
Very good friend, Gerard, also a Southern California resident. Gerard, great homestand. Let's keep the momentum going on the road. I'll be in San Diego at Petco Park. Go Cubs. All right, Gerard. We will maybe have to.
Gerard and Brennan have to meet up.
Look at that. I got to see which day I'm going. Let's take our quick ad break here and get back into it. First one here is from Factor. I actually had Factor for lunch. The rain delay at Wrigley Field happened. I didn't have any food. What did I do? I opened up my fridge. I see sweet potatoes, spicy sweet potatoes and green beans. That's a healthy lunch. I need to have my nutrition to talk to you, Cody. Factor has every fresh, never frozen meal that's our chef crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. It is literally 2 minutes. I put it in my microwave, pressed 2 minutes, came out, perfect temperature. You can choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Also discover more than 60 add-ons every week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled up and feel good all day long. So what are you waiting for? Get started today and fuel up your springtime goals. And we're celebrating Earth Day all month long. So look out for the Earth Month Eats badge on the menu for Factor's lowest carbon footprint meals. Head to factormeals.com/CHGO Cubs and use code CHGO Cubs 50 to get 50% off. That's code CHGO Cubs 50 at factormeals.com/CHGO. Okay, I don't do transitions as well as Luke, so you're not, accustomed to this. I go straight into it. Second ad break here from Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Spring training is over. I kind of miss spring training, but with the Cubs playing so well, I don't miss it anymore. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Pick entries today. Get in also on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as the basketball season approaches its end, with playoffs beginning. And as you and the world's best players begin to take the playoffs starting for basketball at the end of April, go to prizepicks.com/CHGO and use CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. My Prize Picks, San Diego, Nico Hoerner is due. I'm going Nico and Dansby home runs, Cody.
Ooh.
I know. That's got to be a big payout. So that's prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy.
Is there any former Padre on the Cubs? Are we going to have a revenge game?
Padre on the Cubs. Well, it was Alfaro, but they
my guy. I'm still upset about it.
I know. I'm kind of surprised he ended up letting him go, but it is what it is. No former Padre, I think, unless the chat can remind us.
All right.
But it did get me thinking when you were talking about Morel at third base. I was talking to Corey about this offline, and Morel hasn't looked good at third base. Like, he just hasn't. And like
Right.
Busch picking balls from throws from infielders has also been off at times. You have Matt Shaw, who hit a laser beam in his first game debut at Tennessee. Everyone's
First at
thinking,
bat.
okay, yeah, everyone's thinking, when is Matt Shaw going to be up?
Yeah.
And then it kind of made me think, the way that Craig Counsell has used the DH spot this year. Seiya got a DH role, Ian got a DH game, Bellinger got a DH game. It's very different than how Ross used a DH last season. So it started to make me think, even if Morel ultimately is not your staple defensively, if he can even play 50 games defensively across a diamond, that allows Counsell to use guys during days off. Let's say, Bellinger needs a day off and Matt Shaw does come up in a best case scenario. Well, Morel can play the outfield, and that is valuable. Now, Morel may not be the best defender across any position, but the fact that he can at least play, he's not going to be egregious out in a diamond, does give Counsell flexibility to rest guys. And maybe, unlike last September, the team's not going to look fatigued as you approach the final 2 weeks of the season. So that is still very valuable, even if he ends up not being what I hope and you hope, that everyday third baseman or infielder or defender in any position, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point that he can play those outfield positions. Just like, when will they actually do that? Because to your point about Bellinger needing a day off, they can just play Mike Tauchman. You know what I mean?
And he's looked great too, by the way.
And he has looked great. And he's not losing playing time. That's for damn sure. Right. So, but it is a point, and injuries happen. I'm not, knocking on all the wood, so like I guess the good news is they have a lot of depth, and they, if something were to happen, they could play Morel in all three of those outfield positions if they really wanted to. I would lean that they would probably choose left or right field before center, but whatever. To me, it's, I think at this point, using Morel at third base today made a lot of sense because Shota gets a lot of whiffs. He gets a lot of swing and miss. He's got 12 strikeouts in 10 innings, right? But using him at third base with, I don't know, Kyle Hendricks on the mound, not exactly the best. Probably not the best idea. Just because we know Kyle Hendricks is a pitch to contact guy, and he heavily relies on his defense behind him to get outs. And so, there aren't a lot of guys that can get strikeouts like Shota in this rotation. So I wish it could be that easy. But Jordan Wicks looked pretty good yesterday. He had 6-7 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And so whenever your starting pitchers can do that, and then, the bullpen, and I know a lot of people down on the bullpen based on yesterday, but when the bullpen has more swing and miss this year than it has in recent years, in my opinion, maybe you can get by with Morel at third base too. But when it comes to starting games, it's kind of tough whenever the Cubs still have a very large, like, pitch to contact type rotation. And that's just the fact of the matter. I mean,
yeah, it is.
So that's what makes the situation kind of tough, because, like, I don't know. That's why they need Morel to improve at third.
That's the ideal outcome, is right. He does improve at third base.
They just need it. And I don't know, man. Like, I understand everyone's frustration with it. And even, like, I'm not even saying that I'm not frustrated with it. I am frustrated with it because we've talked about this via text. Like, they could have tried to do this like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
They could have done this last year and they didn't. Yeah. And here we are now, we're trying to figure it out. And it's like, dude, like, you could have figured this out a lot sooner, had an idea, and perhaps maybe the offseason goes a little bit differently. Maybe you do sign Chapman. I don't know. But either way.
You're
If you
opening up a
did, you're
can of
perhaps
worms, man.
yes.
We're about to go down rabbit holes I don't want to jump into right now. I just
Yeah,
went back to
I won't
year
do it.
2021.
I won't do it. I won't do it. I'm just saying that like there are some decisions the Cubs made that led us to this point, and that's what makes it frustrating. But at the end of the day, despite his defensive issues, you're still 6-3, and you've played the Rangers, the Dodgers, and the Rockies, and you took care of business against a team that you're supposed to take care of business for. And then, you know, to take 2 of 3 against this Dodgers team that started off the season pretty good. Like it's
and to score runs doing it in the first and
and
last game.
the offense is really picking up. So
for sure.
You know, like obviously it's not like, I don't know if this offense will hit like this all season. God, I'm going to have a lot of beer bets to do if that's the case. But, you know, like they're going to need the defense in general to be better. Like I said earlier, like the team defense, in my opinion, to start the year hasn't been very good. You know, Friday, Ian Happ missed that ball out in left field that put Kyle Hendricks behind the 8 ball early, you know, and then Seiya yesterday, the ball that was hit out to right field. I understand the sun and all this, but like, this is your home park, man. Like, this is no surprise. The sun can be a factor for outfielders at Wrigley Field. And I don't know. It's not that I don't have any, it's not that I don't want to make an excuse, but it's also like, I understand Morel going through the issues, but guys like Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki and, you know, Nico Hoerner had a bad error on Wednesday. You know, I know you're here, but I'm just being honest. Like that
He's some great plays today.
Yeah. And he's been great defensively since, since that error against the Rockies. And then obviously, and I'm past it, by the way, but Dansby's error against the Rangers, like it's just a full on like team defense in general is probably my biggest like frustration for the entire year, because defense is supposed to be the strength of this team. Their defense is supposed to be what helps their pitching staff out. And it just like, it's been kind of frustrating to me. It's considering their best players have kind of had some mental errors out there. And so like, it's kind of like, making it Morel's bad defense look even worse than, you know, maybe we're reacting to it differently than we should, you know.
I when you look at defenders who have been out there for years, Ian Happ, Dansby, Nico, when you project their value, their defense is the least of anyone's concerns. Yeah, stuff like that happens. Nico made some errors. Dansby made the error in Texas. Ian should have caught that ball against the Dodgers. It happens. Seiya lost the ball in the sun. Sometimes he looks great. Sometimes he has a lot of frustrating plays out there.
Yeah.
Overall, in the long-term, projecting over a course of a 162-game season, that seems to be the least of anyone's concerns. However, we're getting a lot of comments, at least I am, about Nico Hoerner's bats. A lot of good offense. Basically, the entire lineup is performing well. Nico has struggled. I will say, to set the stage for this discussion before we hit our second ad break here, Nico, at the end of today's game, expected weighted on base average is actually 370. I understand he's not going gap to gap. I understand he hasn't hit the ball close to the warning track yet, but he has taken more pitches. He has hit the ball hard in many at-bats, and the chase rate has been a significant improvement, not as dramatic as Christopher Morel, but relatively pretty significant compared to most batters. So I do want to talk about Nico. Let me hit this ad break here, and we'll come back and talk about Nico.
You want to talk about Nico?
I want to talk about Nico. Can you believe that? I know you had big expectations for Nico and Power this year, so this will be a good discussion. But let's hit our ad break here from Blue Moon. Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. From its refreshing flavor with Valencia orange peel for a subtle sweetness and hints of coriander, Blue Moon Belgian style wheat ale is a one-of-a-kind beer that's made brighter. Hopefully, we see a lot of Blue Moon beer bets this year from Cody, with the Cubs offense performing so well. A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon. Look at that. But you can enjoy it all season long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian style wheat ale. It's a one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO for your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Just also want to point out to you, CHGO, we had a lot of diehards sign up. Cody and Braggs, the Friday 120 Club, saw the videos. I'm jealous. You guys had great weather for your first Friday at 120.
We were blessed.
Relatively good weather. Still pretty cold from my standards, but a lot of action at CHGO and a lot of Cubs content. Jared Willis at the ballpark today. Ryan Herrera there at Wrigley most games. They're in the clubhouse. They're in the dugout pregame, talking to everyone, getting all the inside scoop. I saw Ryan with his like stabilizer camera on his iPhone, getting all the videos cut and center. So a lot of exciting content happening in addition to daily shows. And we have our Discord for our diehards. If you want to sign up as a diehard, you get to talk to Cody late at nights with all these Discord messages. So look into that. Okay.
Yeah, becoming a diehard is the best decision you can make right now, especially with all the rest of things coming up the rest of the year. But as far as the Cubs, like, it's a great time. Discord's been pretty exciting the last handful of weeks. I think people are having a good time in there, man. So and the Friday 120 Club is awesome. We had a great time on Friday.
It looked fun. It looked fun. You had a hangover by 7 p.m. So only fun can come from that. But let's get into the whole Nico discussion. Okay. You started the season saying you wanted to get more power from Nico Hoerner. You weren't alone. Dustin Kelly even said, quote, "There's more power in his bat." So it was an intentional effort from the Cubs staff to actually try to bring out a lot of Nico Hoerner's power. Now, if you look at the underlying metrics from last year, hard hit rate, max exit velocity rate, still not among the best in Major League Baseball. So even though he has maybe more athleticism and potential power, we still haven't seen it even in his max numbers. The question then becomes, as a fan from our perspective, and then separately from Nico's perspective and the coaching staff, how much do you want to risk giving up some of your natural good traits for the sake of 2, 3, 4, 5+ more home runs? And likewise, how realistic is it that a player like Nico can accomplish that type of power while not sacrificing his innate elite level contact skills? And so far in the early going, you've seen some of the struggles. How do you feel? Would you rather him persist with these adjustments, or is it a concern for you?
It will become a concern with me if it's still happening in mid to late May. And it also is easy for me to get through right now because the rest of the offense is hitting so well. Now, if the entire offense was struggling, I think there'd be a hell of a lot more like Nico Hoerner, like worrisome about him, right? But because the offense has been so good to start the year, like some people will have noticed the struggles, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as I don't know. It's not as bad as people who complain about, I don't know, Yency Almonte or Jose Cuas in the bullpen, right? So I think for me with Nico, to answer your question, I want to see him continue to try and do whatever he tried to do this offseason to generate this power. And I'm not even asking for home runs. I'm just asking for more doubles. I'm asking for more more extra base hits. That's all I'm asking for. Because he's not going to hit leadoff except against lefties this year. Hasn't even stolen a base yet. Like, he's not going.
That's the most surprising part.
Yeah, and it's largely just because of where he's at in the lineup against righties.
He's not getting on base.
Maybe things could change if he starts getting on base more frequently, obviously, like we hope. But he's getting on. Usually, when he's coming to the plate, there's already a guy on, or he's coming to the plate, and if he does get on and the bases are empty, they got 2 outs already or something. Like, that's what it feels like. He's just not been in a good situation to steal a bag, right? So I think for him, I would like to see more extra base hits at the very least. And if that comes with what he hit 9 homers last year, if that means he hits 15 in 2024, like I think we'd all be happy with that. I guess it just all depends if he hits 15 homers, but the batting average is like, I don't know, 240, but in the on base isn't very good. That won't work, right? Like he's got to be able to hit 15 homers while still hitting, at least 280, 290 with a on base of, I don't know, 340. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be in there. And last year, his weighted runs created was right around league average. If that could increase to like 110, somewhere around there, like you're feeling really good about that, right? So it's just too early for me to get worried about a guy who has kind of cemented his name in the league, right? Like he was one of the top 15 most valuable players in as far as WAR last year. Like he showed his value, and I know a lot of that is because of defense, but he also had like over 170 hits, and he was on a list with Ronald Acuna and I think Mookie Betts for like the amount, like 170 plus hits and 40 stolen bases, something
playing
like that.
Almost every day too.
Yeah,
with the best defense in the league.
Right. So again, it's about, to me, it's about giving him some more time. I'll get worried if we're in mid to late May and things haven't changed.
Adjustments tend to get zoomed in at the onset of the season. Naturally, these guys are working on things during the offseason. They come in and they showcase their new adjustments. If you zoom out and not just look at the first 2 weeks here, if you zoom out dating back to 2019 with Nico Hoerner, 2020, the COVID year, 2021, Nico constantly makes adjustments. This is not the first time Nico has tried to make an adjustment. His adjustments you can trace back to 2018. Look at his batting stance. Closed batting stance when he debuted. Opened it up. Hand depth higher, hand depth lower. He even made that change last season. Started the year off, hand depth lower. Season went on, hand depth higher before he started his overall pre-pitch load. These guys tend to tinker. And when the success comes following adjustments, as a fan, I cement it in my brain. When these guys make adjustments and they have success, to me, it gives them the leeway to continue to try to improve. Dansby Swanson has improved. He's made substantial adjustments throughout the course of his career, even this season. With Nico, the contact has gone down by about 7 percentage points to around 78%. That's not going to work for Nico long term. He needs to make at least 82% plus contact, because with his type of batted ball profile, that is the one threshold he will likely need to hit to even hit 270, 280. So that's the threshold for him. But what's going maybe underappreciated is that his chase rate has been substantially better. Then the question becomes, is his power actually, is the intention for power a swing change or an approach change, an aggression change? And Dustin Kelly's talked about setting sights for certain players. One of those guys is Cody Bellinger, setting sights for pitches elevated. And that was what Cody ended up changing last season. So when I look at Nico Hoerner and I see the chase rate improving, it does signal to me, is maybe the power intention more of a byproduct of selective aggressiveness? And if so, that in a way he is kind of succeeding by not swinging at these poor pitches. Now, if you look at his actual heat map here, again, anything more red or yellow or green is pitches that he swings at more. And if you look in 2023, he swung at more pitches inside the zone and even on the edges across all of the zone, but particularly against inside pitches as well. And those pitches he hit on the inside portion of the zone tend to be weak contact. Those are your 98 mile per hour plus fastballs in on the zone. Now, if you look at 2024, the swing profile has switched. More on the outside, less swings on the inside. And so that to me signals a tangible effort to swing at pitches that are more likely to yield power. In a way, Nico has already succeeded in that. Now, what needs to improve next is more frequent contact and translating that selective aggressiveness to actual harder hit, further contact. It's still too early. Maybe this is not the approach he ends up accepting long term, but it's part of that process that Nico has shown through his career that has led him to the point where he's a 4 or 5 win player. So in the current moment, it might be uncomfortable. It actually might not be long lasting, but this is how Nico has to go about his business to succeed. It's part of his process.
Yeah. To wrap it up, man, I'm not worried yet. So
yeah,
Like,
I don't think we should be worried
no.
yet. And these guys are smart enough to figure out when it's time to like move on.
Can I ask you, because you're the pitching guy,
Yeah.
Dr. Brennan Miller. Can I ask you if you're worried about Kyle Hendricks? Because I know my guy Godfather is worried about Kyle Hendricks.
The only time I've been worried about Kyle Hendricks is when he was injured. So with Kyle, like you can point to other pitchers who have had failures, and their failures are due to stuff differences. Taillon's a perfect example. He got hit hard last year because his curveball leaked into his new sweeper. You guys were talking to Tommy Hotovy. Tommy said his curveball shape changed as a byproduct of adapting that sweeper. Kyle's stuff looks exactly the same. Velo 90 miles per hour. Change up looking fine. Yeah, his fastball is a little bit more run, but nothing out of the range of his past career. If Kyle says he's healthy, if he's acting as if everything is status quo, then I can't be concerned about that. The command is off. You look at where his sinkers have been thrown this year, his command is more center in, but his changeups are commanded well. Four seam commanded well, velocity's up there, and the shape of the pitches are within range from what he usually shows. So should I be worried? I don't really think it causes significant concern. It's just something to monitor. And Kyle, he seems healthy.
Yeah. For me, like, it just goes back to the defense. Like, Ian Happ's got to catch that ball on Friday. They get out of that inning with no runs allowed if he just catches the ball. And, but then he was better for the next 3 innings after that. And so I just, at the same time, though, I won't lie. When Ohtani comes to the plate against Kyle Hendricks, I'm a little worried. When Freddie Freeman comes to the plate against Kyle Hendricks, I'm worried, right? Because I just know how much of a pitch to contact guy he is. But it's for someone like me, it's hard to be able to see if there's a difference between now and 7 years ago. Like I know that this team is better with Kyle Hendricks in the rotation than not. Right. Like there's no right now, there's no one they can insert in there to be better than him. There just isn't.
No, especially with the injuries too.
Yeah. Especially with the injuries. So for me, you're hoping you just continue to get what you've always got out of him, which he's sure. I think earlier in his career, you could get more 6-7 inning performances out of him. But these days, if you get 5 innings, 3 earned or less, like that's such a home run for him at this point in his career. I mean, I think it's always a roller coaster reading or watching Kyle, because it does seem like sometimes seems like he's done. But then I'm just waiting for, what he's going to start next. In San Diego, he almost threw like a complete game shutout in San Diego 2 years ago. Like I won't be surprised if they go to San Diego and he throws a complete game shutout or goes 8 innings or some shit like that against the Padres in that ballpark, right? So last year I entered the year down on him because I didn't know how he was going to react after coming off this injury, and now he's faced the Rangers and he's faced the Dodgers to start this year. And so I'm trying to keep myself from overreacting,
I would overreact if we saw a difference in stuff. I would especially overreact if we saw a difference in velocity. If you're averaging 85, I would be concerned, but he's not. And his stuff looks the same. If you just block out where he's throwing changeups, his tailing changeup, the one he throws to left-handed batters, is exactly the same pitch as it was last season. So to expect that pitcher to get hit harder as the season progresses is likely not a good bet. But the sinker needs to be commanded better. There's no doubt about that. And with Kyle, you expect that to happen.
Okay. Well,
look at other pitchers. You have Jordan Wicks adapting. You have Shota Imanaga, who 12 strikeouts in 10 innings. I think you look at Jordan Wicks, Imanaga. You have Taillon, who had his first rehab starting in AA in Tennessee today. Got shelled, by the way. I don't know if you saw that stat line. But right now you're looking at a rotation. Once Taillon is back, of Kyle, I always struggle naming like the 5 guys because I get like pressure, like I get stage fright. I'm gonna try it. So you have Taillon, you have Kyle, you have Assad, you have Shota, and you have Wicks. That's the depth, the kind of like the if you want to call it fringe depth, or the threshold at which if some of those guys end up getting injured, then the depth is going to be a problem. But at the same time, if you look at how Wicks has developed this year, he's a guy who I can see having the best likelihood of being a 6+ year cost controllable, every fifth starter, no nonsense. One of those pitchers the Cubs have traded in the past, Eloy Jimenez for Jose Quintana. One of those guys, one of those consistent 2-3 win pitchers on an annual basis. And the reason I think that, and the reason I think we should be optimistic about at least the back end of the rotation and that depth, Wicks against the Dodgers did not have a changeup. He said that post game, did not have my changeup. And the way he adapted was throwing breaking pitches that he's been developing over the past year. If you look at what he threw against the Dodgers, mostly curveballs to right-handed batters. That's a pitch that he didn't really throw much in the bigs last year. He threw mostly sliders against left-handed batters, and he succeeded. Wicks coming up, having a dominant changeup four-seam pitch is his foundation. That wasn't there against the best hitter in Major League Baseball. And he still went almost 5 innings. He got charged for 2 earned runs, but really it wasn't him giving up those 2 earned runs at the end. That is the evolution of a young pitcher. That is literally exactly what you want to see.
His when he struck out, what was it, Freeman? Or maybe it was Betts. Probably like
curveball.
Yeah. And then he stopped, like walked off the mound. And that video that you made, like it like went viral or whatever. Yeah, he's got like, you know, this is Delmetrics now. Like when you talk about like percentile dog, he's in the red. He's 100 percentile dog, you know. He's just like the bulldog mentality, man. Like I tweeted after I saw that, like, I'm going to fall in love with Jordan Wicks this summer because it was just such John Lester, like I just felt like I was watching John Lester all over again in some ways, except this guy's young and we're going to have him for a long time. And your point about how, you know, he didn't have the changeup, it was a big question about like, how is he going to get through games when he doesn't have the changeup going, right?
Exactly.
And for him to be able to do that against the Dodgers, like, yeah, it wasn't the perfect start. I mean, this first inning, like he threw a ton of pitches, and that's why he wasn't able to go more than 4 2/3. But for a rookie pitcher to do what he did against that lineup for the first time, that was impressive, man. Like I'm excited for him. Like that's a development that like me and you have like dreamed of for years, because
I've been waiting for this, even dating back to the early Theo years, because we never got it. And it's right there in front of us. And I think sometimes, personally, for me, I need to remind myself of that. Right. I was talking to Greg Huss about this. It is not a crazy idea that by September you could have Justin Steele, Cade Horton, and Jordan Wicks going back to back to back. And
pretty good.
That is an incredible success from the scouting development team and the pitching development team to get those guys there. 3 homegrown guys contributing major playoff pushes at that age. It's really not that unrealistic to think about.
You could throw in Assad too.
Assad too. One of those guys who's kind of just came out of nowhere. But with Wicks, final point here, and we can move on maybe to Shota and get your thoughts on him. But with Wicks, when he debuted in Pittsburgh last year, complete opposite from what we saw against the Dodgers. Wicks struggled in that first inning against Pittsburgh, and what did he do? Changeup. Dialed in on the changeup, and he had the pitch that day and really nothing else. And then you can see against the Dodgers, when he doesn't have that pitch, he still has enough to get through. So that diverse repertoire offers versatility when one pitch is not working. That's how guys can last 30+ starts a year. And that's what you want. And that's why, in contrast, Hayden Wesneski has not succeeded as a starting pitcher yet. In contrast, that's why maybe Ben Brown won't be that starting pitcher off the bat until he develops that diverse pitch mix. And when you look at Wicks and what he currently has in comparison to those two guys with top-notch stuff, I think by anyone's standards, people would say, oh, Wisniewski's slider is one of the better sliders in the league. And by Ben Brown's standards, oh, he's one of the most unique curveballs in the league. They would put him over Jordan Wicks stuff in a heartbeat. but Jordan Wicks is the one more likely to succeed as an every fifth day starting pitcher, and it gives me a lot of confidence and encouragement going forward with this pitching stuff.
Yeah, and I had questions about Wicks coming in this year because Wesneski kind of gave me some PTSD last year, right? Because he had such a good September of 2022, and then he wasn't very good last year, and for the most part, he was a lot better in the bullpen, but as a starter, not good, right? So I was like, we're gonna roll the dice with this guy. He hasn't proved anything. I don't know. I just hope that things work out because I want to like the guy and I want to believe in the guy, right? And through 2 starts, again, against the Rangers and the Dodgers, you couldn't be more impressed. And his numbers against the Rangers would have been a lot better if the defense was just better that day.
Yeah, I know.
So,
it cost him an entire inning, those errors.
Yeah. So I'm with you, man. With Wicks, I'm excited. And then just waiting for Steele to get back, and you have him.
That's the thing,
right? You just kind of that's another reason why them being 6-3 and Steele not being part of this at all is insane. But you get Steele back, you have Wicks, who's feels like he's growing. We're going to talk about Shota, who has been more than what I really expected to start his career.
Same.
And then like Assad has been fine being inserted into the rotation. He's been good enough. Like it was 1 start against the Rockies, but whatever. And
Kyle.
Hendricks, and then Hendricks is the only one where it's like, okay, he hasn't been great, but he's Kyle Hendricks, and like he's done this for years and years.
Jameson Tyone too. If he
comes back, you get Tyone back. Yeah,
it's deep.
It's deep. Yeah.
If you look at too how Shota's developed, I thought we would see when he debuted more of just a splitter fastball mix. We've always heard about Shota's like 4-seam fastball having 20 inches of induced vertical break. And even Tommy Hotovy to you guys said, like, yeah, his fastball's going to play up. There was one thing that Tommy said to you, actually, maybe not to you, but maybe someone else. Maybe it was to you, actually, Cody, because you were asking good questions. But he mentioned that the break on his slider was something that they could work with, that it was malleable. So I thought that was interesting. I'm like, all right, well, he already has a splitter. He already has a 4-seam. If he develops a slider, that changes his projections pretty dramatically. So I was looking at what he was throwing the past 2 starts, and I'm surprised, actually, because if you look at his actual pitch plot over here on the bottom, or the x-axis, you know what an x-axis is, Cody?
Dude, I was not good at geography.
All right, well, the x-axis is anything from
or geometry, not geography, geometry.
I'm gonna have to clip this one. I wasn't good at geography either, man. Honestly, wasn't good at geometry either, too. But I'm looking at Steven in the background. I don't know if I can get through this segment now. I'm like crying over
this is what you get when I do the show and not Corey. All right.
Corey usually doesn't even respond to me. It's okay. So anything from top to bottom is the y-axis. Anything from left to right is the x-axis. And what you're looking at is the movement profile. So like those pink sliders, you see how they're all the way to the left? If you just look at the center of the pink sliders, go straight down. You see how it's -10 right there? That's 10 inches of horizontal break for a slider. The average is around 5 inches. So it's pretty easy to say, okay, well, I don't know if you can do it, but 10 divided by 5 is 2. So, 2 times more break.
Okay.
He has 2 times more break than your typical slider, and it's throwing around 80, 82 miles per hour. So this is a pitch type that has more horizontal than your average pitch type, but he already has the base in his 4-seam. He already has the splitter. It's one of those. I'm not going to be able to get through this over here with you guys laughing over here.
The chat's cracking me up now.
I'm not even reading the chat yet. I don't even want to look into this. But it just adds on to the encouraging points we're seeing so far. The trends with Wicks and the trends with Assad and even now right now with Shota Imanaga. I'm all over the place. But what's your response to that geography?
So that map was for Shota, right?
That was for Shota.
For Shota.
Yeah.
Delmetric says Shota has it. That's what I have for you, bro.
I mean, like, so at their peaks, right?
Yeah.
Steele, Horton, Shota, Wicks, Kyle, Jameson. It's a deep rotation. That's the best case scenario, but they get there by September. I'm feeling pretty good.
I'll say that Shota, what my biggest concern about Shota was, is he going to generate the same amount of whiffs that he did in Japan? So far, he has. His strikeout of Ohtani today was awesome.
Oh, man.
Right? That's the best player on the planet, man. Like it was one thing to do what he did against the Rockies, but he was en route to have another good start today if the rain, if Mother Nature didn't show up, So
he would have struck out Shohei again. And maybe Shohei had his own strikeouts plus 300, and maybe he was making some money doing that.
Maybe he was, but
he was.
I'll say this about Shota is that, like, specifically against Ohtani, it's like he knew the scouting report and he executed it perfectly. Like, I guess Ohtani's not so great up and in. Like his numbers or whatever aren't great when you throw up and in. And like that's where he lived. And so he just kind of knows where to go, and he is great command. I mean, that's the most like basic way to say things.
He's got good geography.
Good, yeah, he's got good geography. And I love his mentality too. Like the game against the Rockies, like he was animated out there, and we said that on the show that we did on Monday, talking about him and like his he's pumped up on the mound and stuff like that. Didn't see a lot of that today, it felt like, but he was only out there for like 4 innings, right? So
yeah.
Listen, if he's gonna be this good, we really can talk about him as a potential Rookie of the Year candidate in the National League.
Yeah,
and
at least.
Yeah, and it's all I can say too is if he continues to do this, then I'll give Jed all the credit in the world, because I think people, when they signed him, people are like, oh yeah, he'll be a nice addition, but like we're still missing like that number one guy, and like a lot of people don't think Steele can be that guy long term, and we don't know what Cade Horton's going to be, but like, and I'm not even really saying that Shota's going to be the number one guy in the rotation. I'm just saying that he's been good enough to where you can feel confident with him in your top 3,
I think so. If he has a slider that looks that good, that's 3+ pitches. Yeah. You're laughing over here. You're throwing me all off. But yeah, if he has 3+ pitches like that, then I get thrown off easily. It's all good. Then he's one of those guys you can put in the top 3. So, and it also opens up with Wicks more flexibility to trade some of these guys like that. That way you don't have to spend money on the back end of your rotation.
You can trade everyone, Brendan.
You can trade everyone, but also you don't have to spend $70 million on Taillon equivalents in the future to shore up the value you're going to get from Wicks at pre-arbitration cost controllable levels. So that's the value that comes with that. It opens up payroll flexibility more than we think.
There's like a fine line of like, yes, we both wish the Cubs would spend $400 million every year, right? But at the same time, it's also really good to see them be able to develop players like they look like they are right now.
Yeah.
And then that allows you to have more money to spend on higher end free agents. And we got to get there, right? I think if this team turns out to be better than what a lot of us think, maybe the Cubs will do that this offseason. I'm not trying to talk about any of that right now, but there you go. Yeah,
I'm already talking myself into it.
I'm still holding myself back. All right, give me a month. Luke's going to continue to say it.
I'll give you 2 weeks.
Luke's going to say it in the office no less than 1,000 more times. But anyway, like it's like, yeah, like your point about, if you're able to do this, then you don't have to go out and sign a Jameson Taillon all the time. Not that I don't believe Jameson Taillon can be better in year 2, but it's
you don't have to take that risk. It's a risk for $70 million.
Yeah. So that allows you to spend more money on the higher end guys. But I think at this point, development of players has taken a massive jump compared to like even the Theo years, So
for sure.
There's a lot to be excited about. It's just like you got to watch it all play out, and sometimes it's gonna be frustrating. It's gonna be a roller coaster. Like, I think a good example, like right now, like a lot of people are down on Almonte, and a lot of people are down on Quas, and a lot of people are down on, I don't know. Like those are the 2 that people keep saying, at least in terms of the bullpen. But like, there's always going to be a guy in the bullpen that has a bad outing, and then people will be down on that guy for like a day or two too. But like when it comes to Quas and Almonte, specifically Quas, like got him in that trade for Nelson Velasquez, like he was clearly a project. He was clearly they're trying to I think they want him to be kind of like what Scott Efros was.
Well, they made his slider into Scott Efros's similar slider type. He developed a new slider after the White Sox series in mid-August last year that increased his break by 3 times. So he was a project.
You're right. And it's still trying. I think they're still trying to just figure out what role they can use him in, right?
Yeah.
And I'll just say it, like, as a guy who believes in him being some sort of weapon for the Cubs down the road, like, I didn't like bringing him in with runners on yesterday because he's shown to be wild and not effectively wild in the past. Yeah. To me, it would have been better to see him come in with no one on base, right? And then in the second inning after he came in, he was better when he came in, when he started the inning with no one on, right? So I think right now, like, we have to remind people too that Craig Counsell's still trying to figure out roles, trying to figure out spots to use guys.
We trust.
Yeah. But like, I do like how he's managed the bullpen so far this year. And Almonte, he wasn't good on Wednesday, but his last 2 appearances have been better. He was good today. And Leiter was good. I mean, they won 8-1 today. So like, shit, it's hard to talk bad on anyone right now. They just won a series against the Dodgers.
Yeah, they're 6-3 going to San Diego. So I mean, that's where we'll leave it. So right now, hopefully they're on a plane. I'm worried about their departure time. I think I was doing the math. They'll probably get to San Diego at 2 a.m. So they're going to be tired tomorrow. Yeah. So it's going to be an issue. So they have San Diego, 3 games coming up. They fly to Seattle after San Diego. Then from Seattle, they fly to Arizona, start a series the following Monday. So it's a big West Coast trip. Come back. My goal, stay 500. Don't make me sad. Keep the ship afloat. Stay healthy. We didn't talk about it today, but Julian Merriweather on the IL, shoulder strain. Never want to hear shoulder injuries from him. So we'll see how Craig adapts to that.
Are you blaming the pitch clock like everyone else is?
I am blaming the pitch clock. Actually, I'm not blaming the pitch clock, but that's a conversation for a different day.
Okay. You can have it with Corey.
I'll have it with Corey. I'll talk about geography when he comes on. Palencia was up. I thought he looked pretty good today. I had 3 innings, showed the splitter, showed the slider. Yeah. We can do a whole Daniel Palencia episode. I got Steven over here. I need Steven to go home and enjoy his Sunday evening.
Yeah,
so we'll talk about that.
He's ready to go home. Yeah.
But you and Luke and Ryan have a show Monday, right?
Yeah, we'll be. I don't know if we have pregame, but we're definitely doing postgame for sure. Tomorrow after the game against the Padres, the Ass Man goes tomorrow, correct?
I don't know, man. I wake up and I look at the box score and the pitching, starts, and that's it.
All I know is that the happiest person in our Slack channel will be you tomorrow.
Yes.
You will be the happiest because you will be the only one living in a time zone that's happy about it.
That's right. I love late night West Coast baseball. It's my favorite thing of the year.
You can, enjoy it while you can, because it doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen every week. I know these are the times you dream of.
This is my time.
Yeah,
it's my time. Let's just hope Luke can stay up. So we'll leave it at that.
Splash some water on him or something.
There you go. Some blue moon, splashing blue moon on them. So we'll leave it at that. We got a whole slate of episodes this week coming up. Again, go join, be a diehard. Talk with us in the Discord. Read all of our content, Jared's content, Ryan's content. I do stories with Ryan every now and then whenever we get an idea.
Also, I guess we started a wrestling channel in the Discord, and I know there's a lot of WrestleMania people. So
if you like wrestling, go for it. I know Cody or Corey likes wrestling. I know you like wrestling too. So we'll leave it at that. Corey and I will be back next Sunday. Thank you, Cody, for filling in for him. Credit to you. I'm sure Corey will say thank you as well. And we will see you guys next week. So as always, go Cubs.
We all silly like the mayor.